Hi, and welcome back to the Mortgage Broker broadcast. My guest this week is Leigh Rowland of Mortgages Made Easy. The reason why I wanted to get Leigh back onto the podcast, because he has been on a couple of times before to the podcast, but the reason why I wanted to get Leigh back on is Leigh's just started a recruitment drive for a mortgage broker. He's looking for mortgage brokers to join Mortgages Made Easy. And the reason why I wanted to get Leigh back onto the podcast was just to talk about that, but really understand more of what made him decide that. Is that something he've always wanted to do, was growing the business in terms of numbers, something that was always on his agenda. So that's the reason why I wanted to get Leigh back onto the podcast to talk about that in a little bit more detail. So let's just get Leigh onto the podcast. You're listening to the Mortgage Broker broadcast with me, Craig Skelton, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. So welcome to the podcast, Leigh. How are you?
Very well, thanks, Craig. How are you keeping?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
And right back to you as well. Did you have a nice Christmas?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, it was good. Quietish, but yeah, it was good. How about you?
We were ravaged by sickness from Boxing Day onwards. But the one saving sort of grace was Posey started crawling. And I was in the house. Yeah. So don't worry about all the sickness, everything else. I was there in the house when Posey started crawling. So it just makes up for everything. Obviously, Freddie with his presents and everything on Christmas Day, and Jake and Esme. It was good, really good. But Posey crawling was the one.
Good. Yeah, well, that's a Christmas present you want to be seen. I guess I'm getting that made up for everything, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it did. It did. Yeah, it was amazing.
Excellent. Good. No, and thanks for you're the first guest of 2023. You're the first guest of season 3 of the podcast. So I think you've been on season 1, 2, and so we might as well get you on to number 3. I think so. Thanks for agreeing to come back on. And I think it was just what I wanted to. Obviously, you're on a recruitment drive at Mortgages Made Easy, and I just wanted to talk about that, but really, and talk about more about from your point of view. Was growing Mortgages Made Easy, was that the forefront of your mind when you first set up the business? Was it in the forefront of your mind before you set up the business? Was recruiting always something you wanted to do, as in growing your brand? And I think the reason why I wanted to get you back on the podcast to talk about that, and just to explain, is that there'll be people that will be sat there who are looking at becoming self-employed, thinking, oh, I like the idea of Leigh, and obviously people will be able to reach out from the podcast, but also the other side of things as well is people that are sole traders who may have got an admin support like yourself, and thinking, do you know what? I do want to grow. 2023 does look like I want to have another broker working with me, or I want to have a couple of brokers working with me. So again, it was just good to get you back onto the podcast to just explore more of your mindset and where that sort of come from, really, if that's all right for today.
Yeah, I'll see if I can answer the majority of that. Thank you for having me back on. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you again on the podcast. I love the podcast, as you know.
Well, you're getting a season, but you've got your own little podcast going on now with Mr. Coleman as well, ain't you? The
Specialist Lending Snapshot.
Yeah.
We're filming another one next Tuesday, so I can't wait for that. Anyway, back to what you asked me.
Sorry, Leigh, I threw loads of questions at you there. So
I'll be specific.
I'll go back to the first one. Well, the one was when Mortgage Made Easy was becoming a vision in your mind, you're thinking about this is something you wanted to do, set up your own brand and business. Was it always the plan to be more than Leigh Rowland? Was that always the plan to be more than you being a broker in the business?
Yes, 100%. From the day I thought of going on my own and setting up the brand and the business, there was always expansion in mind. So that's why I was always researching, reading, looking at other people's models. And I know for a fact that I'm pretty good at relationship development, not bad at business development, not bad at running a team. And so it's always been there and that's why it's called Mortgages Made Easy. It's like quite generic, so it can be put out across wherever. It's not specific to a specific area. So and that's why the branding that can be given to other people as well. So it's literally always been the plan. Whereas once I got myself settled, once I got my processes and systems up to speed and I got comfortable, was then to get a client relationship manager in, which I've had Jordan in, which most people are aware of by now. And that then freed up my time then to focus, as you said, this year on the recruitment, which is the next stage in development for Mortgages Made Easy.
Excellent. I think that it must be an exciting time for you, thinking, opening it up to be more than just what's going on in Leigh's head and what's been going on in Leigh's head for quite a while. He's then thinking about, well, you've obviously had to go through. What have you gone through? Is it like, what does the person look like? What's the background? Have you gone through sort of that thought process at this stage?
Yeah, about 1 million times. Literally about 1 million times. I've been in places before where I've inherited teams. I don't know if you've ever been there. And sometimes if you inherit teams and they're not aligned with you and your values, your drivers, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And then you end up, it just gets a bit awkward, doesn't it? I don't need that this time in my career, in my life, awkward stuff. I want to work with people who are like-minded, got the same values. And the values are quite, there's just honesty and empowering clients, educating clients, not speaking in jargon, getting results, being positive, being the best you can be. I mean, that's a bit of a cliche, but that's what I'm all about anyway. So have I seen the person? Have I got a model in my mind of a person? Well, the values and the mindset I have, but everyone has got different experience, haven't they? Mm-hmm. That's where the variable comes in, because then it's working out how that person would fit into the overall team, if you like. I know they're self-employed, but I'm going to be managing a team of self-employed mortgage brokers. And we all have to have different elements, different strengths and different skills. But the core values have got to be the same.
Absolutely. I think going back to what you sort of said about inheriting, then I have been in that situation, and you always tend to find that you sort of stripping that back in terms of, because people, not in a really negative way, it's just that, like you said, they're not aligned with you, your values, taking responsibility, taking action. I know what it was like for me when I was in that situation. It just wasn't a fit. And not that you'd ever fall out with anybody per se. I might have fallen out with a couple of people, but I'm like putting a smile back on my face thinking about that now.
Well, I smile as well. So I was going to greet the fact that I haven't fallen out with anybody before.
I've talked about burning bridges. I've never burned bridges in terms of in my past with people that I've worked with, but actually I probably haven't. I'm being very facetious. That probably one or two that I'm not burn bridges with, but I would never work with again. But less said on that, the better. But I think, like you say, is because do you think because you knew that this is something that always was going to happen, it's something that's actually happening and you've put in place and taken action to make happen, rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to do that in a year's time, I'm going to do that when I've done this, I'm going to do that when I've done that, and it always sort of procrastinates and moves on to the goal that's I want to happen, rather than actually, which is like right now, you've taken action. It's like, I am recruiting. I'm looking for these are the values. You've got recruitment campaigns going on. It's like, well, do you think that just an easy switch in your mind because you knew this was going to happen? Yeah, well,
Anybody who knows me knows that if I'm going to do something, just get it done. It's as simple as that. There's no point messing about, is there? If you know you've got a plan in place, you've got to back yourself. It's the same with the company. It's the same with everything. You've just got to, I mean, obviously it's a calculated risk, isn't it? I'm not some sort of idiot just running around just recruiting people or saying I'm going to do this and that. I think things through, and I do think things through deeply. But once I've made that decision, I don't procrastinate. You just get on with it.
Yeah. Do you think
that's what I'd like to think? That's my self-perception of myself. That's my self-perception. Other people might have a different perception, but that's what I tend to think.
No, I think you're 100% correct, Leigh. I think that is that is my perception of you, that you are, it literally is, well, if we're going to do something, let's decide to do it. Let's just crack on and do it. There's no point wasting time.
I thought you really swore then. I thought you really swore. Sorry, dude.
I didn't.
Because I nearly swore saying the same sentence a second ago. Anyway, sorry, mate.
No, it's fine. Don't worry. No, I didn't swear. No, and I don't think it's so. Anyway, I'll bleep it out. If I haven't got a bleeping machine yet for the podcast, but I might need to get one. So, but like, when you look at it, you, like I said, we've talked about you clearly gone onto a recruitment campaign. You are looking out there, looking for the right individuals, and like I said, with regards to, you've managed people before, you've managed individuals before, you've managed people that are good, the bad, and the indifferent. Given that you've never managed people in a mortgage broking space before, has that made you think differently? Is your mindset different to what it was when you managed people in your back, like from the past, in terms of what you've done before you became a mortgage broker?
No, I learned a long time ago. Like, I used to have different. Say you manage someone with a sporty science background, become similar with an artist background, an artistic background. Now, you can't manage those people be the same. You've got to give them different boundaries and different amount of flexibility to try and get the same results. You've got to know when to let them go and when to rein them in. And it's the same with the personalities within the mortgage world. I mean, the systems and the processes will be all given to them anyway. It's just managing the personalities and reading those personalities, isn't it? Yeah, I didn't learn it the hard way, but the artistic people are completely different to me, because I'm like a sports science person, and then all of a sudden the artistic people are all flamboyant, and I was like, what? A bit confusing. It took me about a year to work out how to manage the artistic people. But when you've got those two ends of the spectrum, I don't think managing mortgage brokers will be much of a problem, to be honest with you. I think it's just, well, I'm saying that, I'll regret that when this one's going to go out, isn't it? But no, I think that I've got the skills there, and I think I understand people pretty well. I mean, I'm 45. I've managed quite a lot of people in my past, and yeah, I understand people's mindsets, really. I think I'll be okay. I'm not worried about managing mortgage advisors.
Do you think, and that might be my fault for throwing that word in there in terms of managing, is it like, are you sort of seeing it as a management kind of thing? I think, and like I say, I apologize, because I think I've thrown that word in there into the podcast, and we've talked a little bit about that. But is it managing that you see? Or?
No, not really. If this is a self-employed broker, it's more of it's a guide, isn't it? It's a guide, a mentor, a coach. I know you do that, but you know that if you get a team of brokers, someone need a light touch and someone need a little bit more an intervention but necessarily we're all there to support each other, aren't we? If the Mortgage Made Easy fictitious broker group that I've got, everybody needs support. As you mentioned on a podcast, I'm not sure, a couple of weeks ago, I think nobody knows everything. No. Everyone's going to need some sort of support from me or the group of brokers, and with a common interest, which is the client and obviously the success. And so I don't see it as I won't be micromanaging anybody. I'll just be overseeing and coaching a team to get the best results for everybody, the clients, the brokers, and me. I won't be... Managers are so broad anyway, Craig. I don't blame you for popping it in there. I think I know what you meant, but I will be managing them essentially. I'll be supporting them when I coaching them.
Yeah, no, and that's it. I think I just wanted to maybe take a step back and think about, like you say, managing is quite a broad word to use, and I just don't want people to think, oh, Leigh's going to be managing me listening to this podcast kind of thing. So that I just wanted to make sure that I was clear in terms of my mind, but also from a listener's point of view as well, to thinking about that from a. But you're absolutely right. It's about that support kind of thing. That's the sort of thing that we see. And even today, I've talked to a broker this morning, and it's very much about what we've talked about in the past of over-promising, under-delivering, support, in terms of sold. And the feedback to me was that the reason why they reached out to me to talk to me from a help and support point of view was that there was no bullshit in there. There was no hidden agenda. There was no trying to pitch or sell or anything like that. There was nothing. It literally is, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is how I work. You either like it or you don't. And I ain't going to fall out with if you don't. And I'm going to and if you do, then great, we'll work together kind of thing. I'm getting that sort of is that?
That's exactly the same as me. Yeah. Exactly the same as me. Yeah, of course, there's no drama if you don't like me or like the way I am on social media. But what you see, unfortunately, it is what you get. It is what you get. But don't let all the
that's fortunate. That is fortunate because, Leigh said, people see you on social media and they see the things that are going on. The last thing they need to do is then when they start out or they meet up with you or have a virtual coffee or whatever the recruitment process is that Leigh goes through with a potential brokers, is then they need to see you. They have to see you. It has to have that consistency from start to finish.
Well, they'll get this. They'll get exactly this, and through that recruitment process, it'll just be my values, which should mirror the sort of values of the company as well. And family's a massive part of that. Flexibility is a massive part of that. Having time to yourself to make yourself your well-being is part of that. It's not all just about clients, mortgages, insurances. It's about the whole package that you can live your life without worrying about how you said run your own race, didn't you? Run your own race. Be your own person. Work hard, work smart, get what you want out of it, and have the support that you need from somebody who hopefully is a like-minded individual. But although I do a lot on social media, and some of it's a bit, I know, humorous to me it is. Don't get me wrong, I'm driven, mind. I'm driven, and I'll motivate you to get going as well. If you really need it, and you give me you want to be accountable, then I'll help you get there if in the best possible way. Like you said, I'm not your manager. Be a part of the team, and I'll do my best to make that team successful in any which way they want to be successful. And that doesn't just mean writing mortgages. That means the whole life package. Like some of these things you mentioned about over-promising and under-delivering, some of the pressure put on mortgage advisors through social media channels that I've watched, I don't really agree with, if I'm honest with you. And when you've done that podcast on Run Your Own Race, I thought it was fantastic because, say you're sitting there on your own, you're a self-employed mortgage advisor, and you see coming in X, Y, and Z, and then you're not earning that. You feel vulnerable. You feel like, oh, this isn't great. There won't be any of that here. Be realistic. It'd be realistic. And if you're employed at the moment, you're going to be self-employed. Coming to Mortgage Made Easy, I won't be just taking you and saying, oh, brilliant, you're going to earn X amount this year, be no drama. I'm going to be sitting you down and going through exactly how much you need to survive on per month. Then I'm going to be asking you how much you've got in the bank. Then I'm going to be asking you, does your wife or your partner or work, if you've got any children? Last thing I want anybody to do is come over to Mortgage Made Easy, walk in the office or work from home. Sorry, that was they could do hybrid, whatever. They work from anywhere. I'll come onto the model in a minute if I've got time. And be stressed right out because we haven't planned this properly. Listen, if you want to come over now, go over now. But if you're good enough, I'll wait 6 months. Get yourself sorted. Get some money in the bank. Have the chat with your partner. Make sure your children are okay. I don't want anybody to come over who's going to be stressed out, who's not going to enjoy working here or working self-employed for Mortgages Made Easy. That's not what I'm about at all. And the last thing I want to do is add any drama, any stress to anyone's life if it's not right at this point. That's just me, because I care about people as well as my business.
And that, going back to what you said a little while ago, Leigh, about family and also about what you see on social media is exactly who I am. That is key to it. That is exactly what you're saying right there, because it is, you're seeing that consistency through. So I genuinely know that working with Leigh, being part of Mortgages Made Easy. Is it what's the thing? Run seal, whatever. What was that thing with? Does
it exactly what it says on the tin? Yeah.
I know that's been used a million times before and will continue to be used a million times after this, but that's how it should be.
Yeah. Well, some people may, I can't assume anything. Some people may have been overpromised and underdelivered. Some people might not be feeling valued. Some people might not be being listened to. Some people might not have any communication. They might just be isolated within the job role, and they might be frustrated. And if that's the case, if there's no resolution to it, you're obviously going to be looking for somewhere else to go. And if that someone is you, then by all means, get in touch and give us a call. If we're the right fit, and that's amazing, and you're the right fit for us, brilliant. We are a new, fresh company, though, Craig. I've got to understand that I am a new company, right? But if you look at my progress, right, in the last couple of years, it hasn't been bad. And if I can do that, and then I can help other brokers to do that as well, because they can have, well, you can see in the background, we don't go very well on the audio, but they can have the branding. You, for example, could be Craig at Mortgages Made Easy. And then we catapult you forward, so you can get the branding. You can be catapulted forward. Like, I know Jordan's not a broker. Jordan's got 1,000 connections on LinkedIn now. He's been working here since October the 15th.
Wow.
Yeah, he texted me today because he's not in the office. He texted me today. Oh, look at my connections. I know connections don't mean anything if anyone jumps all over this, blah, 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 but 1,000 connections since October the 15th, mind, on LinkedIn. He texted me today. 1,001 he's on, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And so that's the type of exposure we can support each other. That's about me supporting Jordan. Now, Jordan started October the 15th. People are contacting him now and not me. They know, you know, and that's the type of thing with all the brokers. We can do that. Oh, but I know everyone does meet the broker. We can drill down a bit further and give them good connections, get them some exposure. It works for everybody, doesn't it? I mean, if they get more clients, then I guess I get percentage as well, don't I? There's no hiding it. No one wants to talk about money, but we do have to make some money to pay the bills. And at the end of the day, if they get more clients, we're all happy. Clients happy, they're happy, and I'm happy. Exactly. So, you know,
so we've established that it was something that you always wanted to do and knew this was going to happen, which makes the transition easier to recruit advisors. We get an idea about, because we can already see you on social media. We know that that's going to be followed through with the process and being part of Mortgages Made Easy. Do you want to talk, allude a little bit about the model and things like that? Do you want to just allude a little bit about sort of like what the process looked like, what the model looks like from your point of view?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, right? So you've got CS Financial Group and CS Mortgages, right? And they've got your self-employed brokers. Is that right? They've got your branding on their social media, like Marty.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think the Mortgage Mum does the same as well.
Yeah.
And so the broker, they can live wherever they want. They can work from home, but they all get the same branding. So it'd be like Craig at, and then all the same green and red, green and red, green and red. So that would be the social media stuff. Would be quite easy. And then it'd be sort of a remote situation. I try and visit everyone, but it depends how many brokers we get. You know what I mean? If I got 20 brokers, it'd be quite hard. So it'd be like a 6-monthly or annual sort of get together. Then you'd have a weekly meeting. I know somebody who works for a different company who's sort of got the same model. They have a Zoom meeting every Monday morning, for example, just to check in, say hi, a bit of support. It's not much, but you'd have a WhatsApp group, obviously, as well, which could help with queries. But the model is just to recruit some really good advisors who care about their clients. They can have our branding, and they can live where they want, work from home, and off they go.
And then I've got your help and support to make sure.
Of course.
But that's the thing, Leigh, I know what you're like is not like giving that, because that is invaluable in terms of your personality, helping them with, like, you look at the social media, like you look at the Jordan situation, like you said there. A broker, when they're first starting out, is like, where do I get my leads from? Where did that come from? Where do I get my business from? It's like things like that you've done on social media, and you look at what you've done. We talked about before we hit the podcast record in terms of the numbers of inquiries that you're getting direct, just because what you've been doing over the festive period and being consistent with doing that, and you will help the brokers in Mortgages Made Easy with that as well, kind of thing. So what you know, don't ever underestimate what you know and what you do, because then people will benefit from that massively, because that's what they trying to. It's difficult enough and scary enough to go from employed to self-employed, or from a bank to self-employed. It can be daunting as it is, but if you've got somebody like yourself they've already seen you, they've already bought into you, they already know what the personality looks like from the weather report to the family stuff to business posting that you do. They already know they get an idea of the culture, because we talked about values, but a little bit, but it's understanding the culture of the firm as well. What is the culture like within Mortgages Made Easy? And it's understanding that, because ultimately the culture is driven by you, because that is you that started Mortgages Made Easy. So the culture will be your culture. That's just natural how that will evolve.
Yeah. Just to go back to something you touched on just now was about the inquiries, right? If you haven't got any inquiries, you haven't got a business, have you?
No.
You haven't. You haven't got a business. You've got any inquiries. You haven't got any inquiries. You haven't got any referrals. Just sat there on your backside doing nothing. So I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I have actually organically grown, if that's the right term. I hate that, organically grown, but it's true. So I do know what I'm doing. I think just about by now, with regards to brokers coming on, I think it's not polished, my stuff. It's not polished at all. But it does get it out there. The message is a friendly message, educational message, and all the things that I've sort of learned over the last few years regards to social media, I can just pass that on straight away and give some coaching on the social media as well. Because unless you've got inquiries, all this other stuff doesn't make any difference at all. You can't write no business. Absolutely. Then you can't pay the bills to start with. The culture is just. I mean, I'm quite a family-driven person, but I do like to have a laugh. You know, I'm not exactly I do like to have a laugh. I can't lie. You know, you won't normally see me being miserable and moping around the place. I'm pretty positive, I would have liked to say. I try and make a fuss of people, try and make other people feel good. I think that's important. Try and say hello to everybody, say good morning. I got good manners. That type of thing goes a long way in any industry. Because there'll be and that's how I want my company to be perceived. So we're a polite, positive, driven, successful company, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. No. I think that's a good way to look at it.
Definitely, and the thing is, it's not. You've got people that are coming from. I know this was my experience of when we were looking to grow CS Mortgage Solutions and looking at it's the advisors that are used to the employed, micromanaged, told what to do, when to go, undervalued. And the culture is not. The culture is just driven by the regional manager. The culture is just driven by the layers and layers above that in terms of demand, and work-life balance is just non-existent kind of thing. So you've got. You learn from that in terms of when I would say, if you think about that's what it's like in the corporate world, I want to be total opposite to that. And it is about having that flexibility. It is about having that work-life balance, no micromanagement and everything else. Yeah. That's why what would refer back to the word management, because sometimes when you think of management, it's like, well, micromanagement, I'm told what to do, where to go, when to do it.
Oh, no.
There's none of
God, no. No, well, management's evolving. Well, management of people is evolving anyway, isn't it? With the generations which are coming up. Because if you managed in the way before, then you wouldn't have any people working with you who want to be around you anyway, because they got so many more options now. They just walk off and go somewhere else, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's like the best football managers. They're people persons. Is that right? Yeah. They're people persons, but they got the tactical know-how to back it up, haven't they? So that's the same as us. So you know about the people, but you know about the market. You know about the social media. You know about how to put deals together. You know, to look at outside the box at different options, like Brentford did against Liverpool the other night with those corners. But we won't talk about that. You know, you have got to and that's it. You can't just go ordering people around. Well, not in my situation. Sorry, the corporate world's completely different. I don't want to start talking down about the corporate world. That's that they're playing on a different pitch. They are, but on our pitch, then there's flexibility, there's understanding, empathy towards the person. Because if the person's feeling good, they're fit, they're healthy, their mind is good, they're more productive. And once again, goes back around. If they're more productive, they get more clients, more inquiries, more just go through, and then we all benefit. So
it's a service on the back of that as well. It's the client's experience. It's the client's will experience a very positive environment. Like your client's experience and like your reviews, the feedback you get from clients is always positive, because that goes through in terms of the culture of the firm and who you are. Then transposes to the clients and the service that they receive, which is what it's all about.
I don't know if you noticed, but Jordan's been included on 2 or 3 of the reviews already.
Yeah,
I was chuffed a bit. Honestly, absolutely buzzing when he was mentioned on there. I was like, George, look at this. And so yeah, I mean, when that and I only use that as an example because Jordan's the only person who works with me at the moment. You know, although he's the client relationship manager. But because I've recruited Jordan and he had it anyway. But you know, I could bring that energy and the values and whatever else to Jordan. He's already getting reviews on his own, let alone with me. Then it's only a positive, and we're lucky. We got amazing clients, Craig. Just amazing clients, so understanding. They're even given, you know, we've got systems in place now, so we're a lot faster, than me doing it all on my own. It was just again a bit too much anyway. So if I could do that with Jordan, and Jordan's included on the reviews already, think about what I can do for the other mortgage brokers.
Yeah,
they're just going to improve their service to the client, which is the main purpose, isn't it? They get repeat business and the client's happy.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing is when you're looking at like recruiting like you are, it's like, this is the culture of the firm, these are the value of the firm, this is me, this is who I am. It's very much a heart and sleeve. You can sort of see that from social media. There's that consistency all through, but then it's a service of the client that's ultimately that's so important from an advisor point of view. When you're looking at recruiting, it's like you can share all those things, but then if the client's not getting, if there is then over promising, under delivering from an advisor point of view to a client, then that's just not going to work from your point of view, because it's your brand, like you say, it's mortgages made easy.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's so important to get the right people in who are in the right place at the right time, and hopefully that place is here and the time is now. That because last thing we can't have any negativity going on, whether it's within the team or from the clients or anywhere else. No. And I'm sure now and again mistakes will happen. Nobody is absolutely perfect, are they? Let's be fair.
No.
But it's the way that we deal with those things, those little bumps in the road, and then move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We won't talk about expectations and with the conversation we've had about things like that in the past. So we won't talk about that. Leigh, Leigh, I've taken up quite a bit. We took over half an hour of your time. Is there sort of anything else we've not talked about? Give you this opportunity to come back onto the podcast while you're here. Is any sort of just great to catch up, mate? It's just great to have you back on the podcast and just have this conversation.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me back on, Craig. You know, it's the first hat trick I've had in over 10 years, I think. But as always, thanks for everything, all the support through, you know, my brand, my way, and also just being a good bloke, really. I mean that. I know we know each other a bit better now than we did when I was first on you, but thanks for everything, mate. I mean that. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that feedback, mate. Thank you very much. And I think for anybody that's out there listening, thinking, I want to reach out to Leigh, I want to sort of speak to him, he is obviously proactive, and they will have already seen the recruitment campaign and things like that you've got going on. Is like, what's the best way to contact you? Just to
this will be going out on all social media platforms, I assume, Craig, won't it?
We'll go out on all social media platforms, yeah.
Yeah, just LinkedIn, just direct message me on any of the social media platforms. All confidential. I think you have to say it'll be confidential. You know, if you just want a brief chat, yes, you want some more detailed stuff, we'll book in a virtual meeting. But just DM me, all confidential. I'm not going to go tell anybody you're leaving their company or anything like that. I'm not going to tuck you up. Just if you want to chat and explore the details a little bit further, then just please drop me a message.
Well, and I think that for me, Leigh, like going back to what you just sort of said there, I think for anybody that's thinking about going self-employed, wanting to work in the right culture, the right environment, then definitely reach out to Leigh and just have a conversation, like you said before earlier, which is one of the things. Is there doesn't have to be an end goal of that conversation. It's just just building that relationship and having a conversation with yourself, and just you're happy to talk to people from what you said in the podcast. So
yeah, 100%.
Leigh, thank you so much for your time. I'm glad that you've been back on for the hat trick, and we'll probably get you on season 4, if not before. So thank you very much for your time out of your busy schedule to come on to podcast, and really the main thing for me was to obviously from understanding the recruitment stuff, so what you've got going on, but then also as well understanding the mindset of whether that's, and hopefully that will helping people thinking that, yeah, I'm a sole trader, but I want to grow my business, I want to take on advisors, then it's something that can be done, and it's something that you had in the mind from the start. So, but Leigh, thank you as always for your honesty and time.
No, thank you very much, Craig. Take care, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, mate.
Thank you for listening to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. If you have any questions about this podcast or any topics you want us to discuss, or if you're interested in working with me further, then please get in touch.